Hey, and your name is, sir?
Mark Bennett.
Mark Bennett. And we're here at the tax rally down here, and of course, I've been saying for years that we need a Boston Tea Party to really put Washington, D.C. back in their place. And Mark, what is your biggest concern today as you stand here?
My biggest concern is that the people of the United States are vaguely familiar with the Constitution. The American people that are casting their vote in favor of many of these politicians are completely ignorant about this nation's history and the principles upon which this nation was founded. Congress, in my view, wouldn't be able to get away with what they were doing if the public itself was more educated about the Constitution and Bill of Rights.
Well, I think that's a great point. And let me ask you, Mark, now, how do we try to rectify that? Do we start in the schools with some education? Is it going to be a grassroots effort? Obviously, is where we got to start.
The way we rectify that is this: having more and more tea parties, more and more of we the people coming together and uniting as one, Republican, Democrat, libertarians, constitutionalists. It doesn't matter anymore. Our entire way of life is under attack, and we need to take a stand if our children are going to have freedom in this country. I think we need to educate the populace by getting out there and saying, why are those people so angry? I mean, people weren't really that knowledgeable about civil rights until men like Martin Luther King stood up and started having marches, and then men like Charlton Heston came out and joined Martin Luther King. The American people was like, whoa, what happened here? Because it started to become the forefront of the American picture. The news media could no longer ignore it. That's what we need to do here. We need to build momentum, and we need to start moving this thing forward.
Well, it's really ridiculous, and keep bailing out, in my opinion, these failed business models for what? So we can bail them out again 10 years down the road? It's ridiculous.
Well, bailing out, the bailout itself, people don't understand the true nature of it. The Federal Reserve literally prints money like it's nothing. There's no gold behind it. So literally, if I have, let's say I have $100 worth of gold in Fort Knox, and I print $200 worth of dollar bills, I've devalued the currency by half. So in effect, retirees, like many of the people here, who are living on, let's say, $300,000 in the bank and a pension, well, their buying power has been cut to $150,000. And then a few more years, it's been cut to $75,000. That's not inflation. That's robbing people. And that's what the Federal Reserve is doing. I think we need to end the Fed, return to the Constitution that gives the Treasury Department and the Congress more power. So, yeah, I think there's nothing federal about them. Federal is Federal Express. It's admitted that 80% of the Federal Reserve is owned by private banks. That's preposterous. I mean, this is literally the most powerful oligarchy in the world, right underneath our nose, and we're completely unaware of it. And they, the banksters, are completely at fault for everything going on.
Well, what's shocking to me is that how many people that don't have a clue about what the Federal Reserve really is and what it stands for and what the importance it plays in the world, but more so than that, what effect it has on our lives on a daily basis. And I mean, it's getting a little crazy here in this country, and I'm glad to see this turnout because I really wasn't sure what was going to happen here, and to see people like you, I definitely appreciate you and your efforts to try to educate people. Try to educate people on what's really going on out there. I mean, I can't get too crazy here because I go on for hours.
When it comes down to it, the American people determine the fate of this country. Okay? When it comes down to the will of the people, to be honest, do you want to pay income tax?
Oh, who does? I mean, I don't mind paying, for my share.
And at the same time, whatever you pay for the income tax, do you really think you're getting back that money through the form of services, through the form of the government? No, of course not. So what we need is representatives in our government that stand up for what we wish to happen, so long as they abide by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is what's most needed in this hour, because if we don't have a government that represents us, we're right back where we were in 1776, and we all know what that required, and none of us ever wanted to come to that.
No, it's really a mess, this country, folks, and I agree with all these people here today that something needs to be done. And